Okay, so we are live as we promised, back here with Dr. Upasana Gala to talk about one of our favorite topics. Is definitely the epicenter of my career, the epicenter of what I do, the holy confidence, the key to everything that we want to get in our life, a promotion, transit in our jobs, a boyfriend, a husband, a wife, anything that we really want is in the heart of our confidence.
Yeah.
So I'm here with Dr. Upasana Gala, who has a PhD in neuroscience, who has a center in the heart of Dubai called Evolve Brain Training, to scoop into our brain, so that we can learn everything about how we can increase our confidence from a neurological point of view, from a scientific point of view. So for the next 15 minutes, you will learn things that you're not really watching on YouTube, you don't really know about. And our intention for today is to give you hacks into your brain so that you can walk through your life with more confidence. And before that, let's say hello to Mihaela Ovidiu, to ABS here on Instagram as well, to Gita. Hello. Hi Jamil. Hi Gita.
That's on you, not me.
Yes. Funny, right? To Shavdavaltalov, to Oais, 2892. Beautiful names. Thank you for giving me tongue twisters. So, Dr. Upasana Gala, you've been studying the brain for more than 15 years.
Yeah, almost 15 years.
What is there to study? 15
Everything.
years?
The whole universe is in your brain.
So, the whole universe is in your brain. Would you be super kind to give us your super juicy tips on how we can hack into the brain to become more confident? And obviously, my first question is, how do you define confidence? What is the definition of confidence from your perspective?
So there has been a lot of research done recently on the neuroscience of confidence, and I think one of my favorite definitions is, so our brain's main job is to collect data and process information, right? So our brain is constantly processing data and making statistical analysis about what to do, what not to do, and that is the feeling that's translated into confidence. So that's what confidence is. So say for example, your GPS tells you make a turn at the third light and then go straight, and the restaurant you want will be on the right. Now you've taken the turn, it's been 10 minutes, but you still haven't seen the restaurant. So then how long you'll keep driving is kind of dependent on how confident you were at the first time when you got the instructions. Did you hear the instructions right? Did I actually take the third right? Have I missed the restaurant? So all of this comes down to any decision you make is dependent on how long you're willing to wait for the right things, depending on how confident you were when you first made that decision. So that's what confidence is. It's statistical analysis, probability analysis. Just like a computer makes assessments about how confident it is whether something will happen or not, same thing, our brain is doing the same thing because it's our body's computer.
So you're speaking about collecting data, and how is the brain using the data?
Yeah, and doing the risk-reward analysis and making assessments based on that, and then taking actions based on those assessments.
All right. How about children who have been wired, whose parents put in the data, the program, that they can do everything, they are the best, they will achieve in doing anything all the time, and children who haven't received that data, then how important is to receive that programming from a young age?
That's a very good question, because evolutionarily we are actually hardwired to remember to focus more on the negatives and to remember those things better than the positive ones. Because imagine you are a cave woman or a caveman, and your main job is to survive and not be killed by all of the natural predatory things. So you are going to pay a lot more attention to a bear coming at you rather than something like a flower that smells good, because your main goal in life is to survive. So even if you do something right 100 times, but one time something bad happens, so you're always driving, but one time you got in an accident, you're likely to remember that one time, and it's going to make you scared to get in the car again, right? Because our brain is hardwired to remember these negative things and give more importance to them so that we don't put ourselves in that situation again. Now, of course, it has an evolutionary benefit, but in today's day and age, it actually also ends up hurting us. Because if we have constantly been given these negative tapes from our parents or friends or society that, oh, you can't do this, or you won't be good enough at this, we are going to remember these tapes and we continuously play them in our mind, which is not healthy for you, and it actually reduces your confidence and self-esteem. Whereas children who get rewarded every time they do something right, not only when they don't do something right that they get punished, but they actually get rewarded when they do things right, they are going to remember these positive tapes, and they're going to have these positive tapes to play in their minds. So every time they need a little boost of self-confidence, they can remember their parent telling them, oh, good job, you did a good job on this. So it's very important for people to give positive feedback and not just negative.
So in coaching, we have a concept called theater of the mind, where we sit people in an imaginary theater and we ask them to play these tapes. And we either ask them to maximize them, minimize them, change the color, because we want them to be aware that the brain is looking at these images and is emphasizing them, and then these thoughts create certain emotions, and obviously it lowers your confidence and your self-esteem. So you're saying, okay, we have the data in the brain, let's change it, let's work with it. So that needs a lot of awareness.
Yes. So being self-aware is the first step to becoming a confident person. Yes.
Okay. Where is the amygdala? Can we see it?
It's deep inside. It's deep inside. If you open this brain up in half, and right in the center of it is a tiny little part.
So teach us about the amygdala. I'm going to pretend I don't know.
Okay.
And tell us about the fight and flight response. What is the amygdala's responsibility?
Okay, so the amygdala, like you mentioned rightfully, is responsible for the fight or flight response. So whenever your brain perceives a threat, and actually in our brain, a brain perceives physical threat just as much as an emotional threat. So the fear of dying or being attacked by a bear is actually the same to your brain as standing up, for some people, standing up in front of an audience and giving a talk and being worried that they may not do well, and that fear of loss of self-esteem is just as big as the fear of death. So what happens in that case is the brain sees that as a stress or a threat, and it activates the amygdala, which is going to talk to the hypothalamus, which sits above the amygdala.
So the amygdala sends an SMS?
Yes, to the hypothalamus. Yes. And the hypothalamus is kind of like the command center of your brain.
Okay.
So it is going to then send signals to the autonomous nervous system. So the things that happen, like involuntary things, like your heart rate, your breathing, your blood flow, that kind of stuff. And it's going to increase all of these things.
Increase the breath and the heart rate.
The heart rate, yeah.
Heart rate.
And it will also send a signal to your adrenal gland to release adrenaline.
So how can we hack the amygdala? I know that breath and physiology, but apart from breath and physiology, how can we fool the amygdala?
By practice.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to train your brain so that we can talk about it later when we come to solutions. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So the amygdala sends an SMS to the hypothalamus.
Yeah.
The hypothalamus sends a message to the
adrenal glands to release adrenaline, and then when this threat stays on for a long time, then it actually releases cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And eventually when the threat passes, all this stuff should stop. So the cortisol production should stop, the adrenaline production should stop, and your brain is supposed to go back to the original state. But what happens in people that have chronic stress is that this continuously remains on. That can then lead to increase in anxiety, and that can then lead to lower confidence, not being able to communicate properly, all of these things, because our bodies are not made to handle this stress for a long time. We should be able to go back to the old stage of our brain once the threat has passed. If it doesn't, then it leads to all of these issues.
Wow. And one hot topic I had in mind, one hot question I had in mind for like weeks and weeks. And finally I can, share it here with you. And by the way, before I continue, hello Sharma, hello Almani, hello Hood, hi Victor, and hello VPuri8902.
Mariam.
Hello to all your friends here. Yes, wonderful. Ayir, Mariam. Welcome to the live. We are learning how to increase our confidence and understand what's happening in the brain in order for us to really walk through life and have more control, more personal power. What is the ultimate chemical cocktail that we can create in our brain so we can feel like we are on top of the world?
Wow.
Who doesn't want to feel like they can just achieve anything, they can walk in any room, in any meeting? So of course, there has to be a certain chemistry. that will help us to have that feeling?
It's a complicated cocktail because we are complicated beings and our brains are complicated.
It's not starting well.
So it's not just one or two things. So first of all, you need a healthy level of testosterone, which is the dominant hormone. Yeah. Then you need low levels of cortisol. We just discussed cortisol. You need low stress levels. So that's why when you see like a really charismatic or confident person, they generally have a lot of testosterone, but you want to make sure they are also not very reactive to stress. So they need to have low levels of cortisol and high levels of testosterone. Because if you are really domineering and all of that, but on top of that, if any stress situation comes, you like fold, then there's no point of having that. So that's why you need the right combination of healthy levels of testosterone and low levels of cortisol.
Okay, what else we put in there if we were to make a cocktail?
You would also need high levels of serotonin. Serotonin is you must have heard, it's the happy molecule. So it's very important also for your self-confidence and self-esteem. You need a good level of endorphins. That's why
serotonin, endorphins.
Yeah.
That's why we exercise.
That's why we exercise, exactly. If you have like a big presentation or a talk coming up that you're nervous about, have a little run before you do that, and then take a shower and then do your talk.
Serotonin, endorphins.
And serotonin, also oxytocin is actually a good level of oxytocin is also important to have good confidence.
So get married.
Yeah, or hug someone.
Hug someone, a pet, a bear.
A pet, yeah,
a cat,
yeah.
A snake. I'm joking.
Pets actually are important, cuddly pets. But I don't know, if you really love your snake, then that should be fine too.
True.
And what else? Dopamine. Dopamine is very, very important.
Whoa.
Dopamine is really important because it is the molecule in our brain that actually seeks and searches reward and then motivates you to go do the action to get that reward.
So if we get endorphins by doing exercise, if we get oxytocin by hugging someone, how do we get a dose of dopamine?
So dopamine is, like I said, it's the reward molecule. So maybe if you have a really overwhelming day, so you can split it up into tiny little tasks. So each time you finish a small task, you get a little tiny boost of dopamine, because whenever you finish something, you're getting a reward, and then it motivates you to finish the next task and then the next task.
Okay.
So that's one way to increase dopamine. But also you can exercise to increase dopamine.
Okay.
Exercise is a big one, actually.
Is there something we can drink? I'm joking. So internally, you can create this chemical cocktail to boost your confidence by having higher testosterone, and there are so many tools that you can do, from the power pose that Amikadi made very popular. Then you want to lower your cortisol by breathing and by relaxing yourself. Yoga, relaxation, meditation. You need serotonin in there, oxytocin, endorphin, and dopamine. 6 ingredients.
6 main ingredients.
You mix them together, you pour them onto this brain. You're laughing. You're laughing, but this is the formula.
Yes, absolutely. It is a formula.
Try it.
Yeah.
Try it.
Yeah.
Now you have the center here, and you're doing brain neurofeedback. How is the training that you do with EEG helping the brain? Because I know you're changing the brain waves.
Yes. So for those of you who have not seen our live before, what neurofeedback is, in very simple terms, imagine you're walking by a mirror and your hair is messed up. Now when you look in the mirror, you get that information about your hair being messed up, so you fix it, right? So that's exactly what we do with the brain with neurofeedback training. We show the brain its own activity in real time. So when the brain sees what it's doing wrong, it can essentially self-correct and self-regulate.
Yes.
Because our brains and our bodies, we have this self-correcting mechanism, but only if they know what they're doing wrong. So that's where we come in with the brain training, where we basically hold a mirror up to the brain and be like, brain, look what you're doing. And as soon as the brain sees what it's doing wrong, it fixes itself.
Yes.
Now the way we show the brain what it's doing is we use sensors that we are attaching to the scalp, and these sensors are listening and monitoring your brain activity, the brain's EEG activity.
Right.
You know how you listen to the ECG of the heart?
So it's not as if you know what's happening in the brain.
No, it's completely subconscious.
You're just measuring the brain activity
and showing it back to the brain.
Similarly, how you are checking the heart activity.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah,
okay.
But only difference is we're actually giving feedback back to the brain in the form of audio and visual outputs.
And for those of you who haven't been watching our videos, this is a NASA patented.
It is a NASA patented technique, and NASA actually uses it for their astronauts because they really have to perform well. You know, they can't be phased by stress or distractions.
And for those of you new to our live, I have been doing more than my confidence level. It's going Bush Khalifa size. I feel more resilient.
Yeah.
I feel that whatever life throws at me, difficulties, car issues, friends, business, whatever challenge comes my way now, I feel more centered and less emotional. I feel I'm able to use my left brain, I'm able to be more logical and just look for solutions.
Right.
And
but that doesn't mean you lost your empathic ability, right? Like, because you were highly empath, so we had to tone it down just a little bit. Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
So how has the EEG helped me become more resilient?
So when we before we started any of your training, we took a little map of your brain, and from that we figured out that you had a lot of beta activity in your prefrontal cortex. So with this brain training, we try to reduce it so that you would not be so anxious. And when you are not that anxious, you can actually focus on yourself and have a better confidence and better self-esteem, and focus on other areas of your life instead of just being anxious.
And also, how is the EEG going to be sustainable? How is now these new changes in the brain going to be sustainable?
So because you have done enough number of sessions, your brain is going to remember. Yeah, this has become the new habit, because when you're changing the brain waves through EEG training, you're changing the patterns of your brain, and when you change the patterns of your brain, you change your behavior. And once you do this enough number of times, then it has become habit. Now this is your new brain. This is the new Andreea.
I know. I mean, that's why we are doing the live, because I've seen the results. I feel 100% better, and I wanted you to have access to.
And because now you're so confident, and also you've always been confident. You are actually, confidence is contagious. Did you know that? So that's why people around you are always so inspired, and so, because what happens when you're in the presence of a confidence person like I am now.
So sweet.
There's a certain part of your brain that lights up in the prefrontal cortex, and research has shown that it actually, when people are listening to people that they believe are confident.
Which one is the prefrontal?
Prefrontal cortex is right here. Okay. So it's actually a part right in the middle of you. If you
so when we are listening to confident people,
this part of your brain lights up, which influences our behavior more than our own thoughts and ideas sometimes. So you have the power to actually influence these people in a way that they would not have been able to make those changes in their life if you would.
Thank you. I take that responsibility. And I was thinking, in the days when I'm not so confident, my thought process is somebody has to be confident.
Right.
Because I know there were a few people in my life who have been strong in times when they couldn't. And I said to myself, if they were able to be strong, then I can do it too.
Yeah.
And it's true, the more people, the more we get inspired or motivate ourselves to be strong and confident, the more we influence the people around us.
Absolutely.
And that's really, that translates more or less into our legacy.
Yeah.
So confidence is contagious. When you are confident, the prefrontal, I want to learn this language, the prefrontal cortex of your brain is lighting up and is giving the brain information.
Yes, signals that make you feel more confident, less anxious, more, just higher self-esteem.
Is that also similar with the mirroring neurons? Because we also have mirroring neurons, and then whatever we see.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some part to that as well.
Okay. Well, I have prepared questions, and my next question for you is to tell us about, in which exactly, apart from the prefrontal cortex.
It's actually not the prefrontal cortex. So if you open this up, it's the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. It's right in the center, so it's like this area, but inside.
So is that the part of our brain with confidence?
That and the striatum, It's not that it has confidence, it's that those parts light up when you're confident.
Can you slow down? I couldn't hear that.
The striatum.
Striatum.
And ventromedial prefrontal cortex. I know it's a mouthful.
One more time, mouthful. One more time.
Ventromedial prefrontal cortex.
That's why she has a PhD in neuroscience and I don't.
I just want to say, before we end this one thing, I just wanted to say that, the neuroplasticity aspect of neuroplasticity.
It gave us all hope that we can be better humans.
Yeah, no matter how old
we can change our story in our life at any time.
So what it is, it's like in your brain you have many different neurons, and these neurons are all talking to each other. Now when you do a certain action or think a certain thought or feel a certain emotion, these pathways are being lit up. Now if you feel the same thought again and again, or you think the same thought again and again, or you do the same action again and again, that same pathway keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and then it becomes hardwired into your brain. Now the good thing about this is that for your brain, doing something is the same as imagining doing it. So if you just imagine that, so for example, if you imagine playing hockey, the same parts of your brain will light up as if you're actually playing hockey.
Yeah.
So if you just imagine that you're feeling confident, you just imagine that you are the greatest and the best, and you're going to give a great pitch, or you're going to do whatever, and you associate those feelings again and again, and you keep reimagining it, that will become the hardwiring of your brain. So when you actually go out and make that pitch, you're going to appear confident because now your brain thinks that that's who you are. So you just imagine it enough times and you can do it. So that's one of the best tips I can give to feel more confident.
You've heard it from the doctor. So go to more trainings, come to my public speaking workshops.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get trained, because in the coaching world we say act as if. Act as if you have already been successful. Act as if and remember all the times when you have been successful, and feed your brain with that data.
Yeah.
Because your brain is anyways, its job is to keep you alive, and then it's going to look for the data, for the information that tells you beware, beware. Now you, as the consciousness within yourself, give yourself the data that, oh, I've done very well in so many other situations, hence I can succeed again. So use the as if and use imagination.
Yeah, and use it to advantage. And it's scientific, so because your brain is actually creating those pathways and strengthening them the more you imagine these things. So
it's scientific that you can build your confidence. You can take advantage of the neuroplasticity. You can take advantage of training yourself and creating new pathways in your brain, and imagine yourself living a much better life, and use the power of imagination.
You can manifest it.
To amaze yourself to a brand new level of confidence, to a brand new love life, to a new job, to a new city where you want to live. Just allow yourself to imagine, and this is in your control. It's all about how much data and what type of data you are using, and hands down, try neurofeedback. Try the EEG. What you don't know also is that Upasana is offering complimentary first sessions where you can read the activity of your brain, and only after that you can decide what type of training you might need to do. So Upasana Center is called Evolve Brain Training, and is in Business Bay in Building 12. Of course, you will have all the details on my Instagram here. And if you have more questions about the brain and about confidence, contact us, ask us. We are
very happy to answer. I love talking about the brain.
She has been studying this for the last 15 years. She's full of knowledge, so thank you for tuning in. And I want to say also thank you, Corneliu, all the way from Romania, for tuning in, and the Emirati, the famous Emirati Salma, who is a pilot at Emirates, female pilot. Wow. Thank you for tuning in. We are happy to have you. Elmo,
Lara saying hi to you here.
Hello, Lara. Hello, hello. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for tuning in, and we are definitely going to come back live with much more tips on the brain and neuroplasticity and things that you will benefit from. And thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you so much. It was so much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.